Hey everyone, thanks for joining. We're just getting started. We're a couple minutes early, and thank you all for joining. I see people coming in, and I will step out and just grab a cup of coffee, and we'll see you in a minute. Well, it's the top of the hour. I'm going to actually let us go another minute here and let people gather. I think people are just starting to join, so I'm going to step out again, and we'll be back at the top of the in about a minute, and we'll get started. Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome back to just a really exciting session we're going to have today, webinar with Julia Fair, who's Vice President of Global Partner Ecosystems at PagerDuty. Gosh, PagerDuty is a publicly traded large company in the software business, helping companies manage with a lot of AI capabilities, managing their operations, and we're very excited to have Julia joining today. So let's jump in. I think we have a fantastic session here. A lot of great logos. A lot of you joining here from, everything from AWS, hyperscalers, large software companies, GSIs, everybody else. Everyone's really interested in hearing this story about partnering with AWS that we're going to talk about today. So, just a couple of housekeeping things. Add your picture into the platform if you would. Then, if you ask questions, then it'll pop up with that. Introduce yourself. Just chime in and say where you're joining from. We'd love to hear. We usually get people joining from all over the world, and love to have you just mention where you're joining from. Go ahead and ask questions. You can use the chat in the platform, or actually on LinkedIn or Facebook, and those questions will come in, and we'll bring those up, and you can ask Julia questions directly. We'll bring them up on the during the session, and then finally, just everything takes place in the session tab where you should be right now, hopefully. So, want to just share a couple of things. We have three things that I think are really interesting. You may have seen we launched a planning worksheet for understanding the value and showing some projections to your leadership to be able to convey the opportunity and actually project where your cloud sales co-selling could be with cloud providers. It's really a cool tool. In fact, we're having I'll mention a little bit later. We have some workshops that we'll be in Denver and Dallas and New York and a number of cities around to workshop and actually go through and understand the model and apply it to your organization. A couple of other just great assets: partnering with cloud providers and then add cloud sales and co-selling to your revenue plan. So a couple of really great documents to share there. So I wanted to share a little bit about WorkSpan and what WorkSpan is all about. And we have just a lot of great companies that are our customers that especially with AWS that are across a lot of different kinds of technology. This is only a partial listing of some of our customers, but we have everything from business applications, security and infrastructure, GSIs and MSPs. Logos are not up here, but Deloitte, Kyndryl, Wipro, and many others are all WorkSpan customers. Recently, just in the last month or so, Canalys has published a sort of magic quadrant of the co-sell business and software technology. We were thrilled and honored to be put right at the top right quadrant. So it's been interesting over the last several years to see this. The category of solutions and technology coming together, and just really excited that WorkSpan, we really founded the category and created the category. So it's great to see that this kind of recognition from industry analysts as well. I'll just touch on what it is that WorkSpan really is for those of you that may have not seen this before, but we're really all about connecting your CRM and embedding it right into the cloud providers for co-selling. So you create an opportunity, and it is then flows right over to the cloud provider that you're working with, and then it's selected fields. It's all very secure, right? It's not the whole opportunity, but it's very select fields that go across. And then once that referral is connected, then that data is connected throughout the life cycle of that deal, so that the sales teams can stay connected. But it really shows you everything from planning to getting your marketplace listing deployed, managing your co-sell automation, and then managing private offers as well. Private offers are critical for, especially in the enterprise space, to be able to create new offers, manage the process, send reminders, and all of those things directly from inside of Salesforce. Your AEs can manage everything from right inside Salesforce. Shows a little bit different view here of, again, creating your marketplace listing, co-sell, managing your CRM transactions, and connecting yourself with your AEs with the AWS field teams or hyperscaler field teams, managing your private offers, and then launching right into ACE. And again, everything happens right from inside of Salesforce. List management is critical. Getting your listings out there, getting your marketplace listing out there, to be able to access cloud spend, and which is a little bit almost like free money in a way, to be able to close your deals with money that may be sitting on the table that you can get access to, billions of dollars, frankly. And it's also important always to own your own listing, something that WorkSpan as a core principle, that you own your listing, which is not always the case with some providers. So co-sell automation, really make your co-selling scalable, and then constantly improving and staying connected, getting your field teams connected, and then offer management, making sure that you have the ability to create customized pricing and terms and all of those factors built right into the deal, and it's connected right into marketplace. So what happens when you do this? This is an example. This is a customer that, if you look at some of the historical data, they were really struggling to get, to get get opportunities and start co-selling with the cloud provider. So very manual effort. You have a sort of a team in the back kind of typing things in, which means that you're prioritizing. You're just getting maybe the bigger deals in. But once you turn on automation, you're able to really push the opportunities into ACE. And what you see over time is that, it starts off sort of one-sided, that you're pushing a lot of big deals in. But as you build relationships and the sales teams get used to working with each other, the deals start flowing in as well. So it's really just a powerful, powerful graphic, I think, to see some actual data for what happens when customers have turned on co-sell automation. That was one example, but if you look at over all of our customers, the average is phenomenal. 3x in the growth in referrals, but that also turns into closed deals, right? Over 2x the growth in actual closed deals with the hyperscalers. So just automation is the next killer app here for working with hyperscalers. I mentioned we have a co-sell readiness tour that's we're running over the next couple of months with AWS and partnership leaders and the channel company. And scan the barcode there and sign up, and we'd love to have you join us. You can also, if you have a city that you'd like us to come to, we'll be happy to. We're looking at putting schedules together right now, so join us then. All right, let's jump in. Okay, so I think with this, I'm going to bring Julia and Puneet in. That's fantastic. Great. So, Julia, great to see you. Oh, gosh, Julia, we worked together many years ago at SAP, so it's great.
A million moons ago.
Neither one of us will say how many years.
Yeah, no, exactly.
All right, so I'm gonna take this out, and I'll let you guys take it away.
Thanks, Chip. Thanks very much. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the COO at WorkSpan. It's my pleasure to talk to Julia, who's been a great champion, a supporter, and a customer for WorkSpan. I'll start with a brief intro for Julia, and Julia, would love to hear your role in your own words, because people are very excited to hear from you. So Julia, currently, she's the VP of Partnerships at PagerDuty. She has been leading partner organizations at major software brands like SAP, Oracle, and Salesforce. And recently, she's been at fast-growing software companies like Big ID, Acoustic, and now PagerDuty. We are very excited to have you here, Julia. Why don't we start with your current role at PagerDuty? If you could share a bit with our audience on what you and your team are currently focused on for partnerships, that will be a phenomenal place to start.
Yeah, sure thing. First of all, thank you, Puneet, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and have this conversation. My name is Julia Fair, and I look after our partner ecosystem at PagerDuty. And PagerDuty is in the business of driving operational transformation for our customers, and we can't do that without our partners. So cultivating an ecosystem around the ecosystem of strategic partners partners that our customers are already leaning on. That's the work that our team's doing. We're focused on consulting partners, and that's service partners, technology partners, the hyperscalers. We've got integration partners, and are developing a marketplace, so marketplace partnerships. So that's the work that my team does across the globe, and we've been at it for nearly 15 years. Our AWS partnership is our most strategic, and predates me by quite a bit. So we're standing on shoulders, but it's one where we lean in because we recognize the value of that relationship to our customers. Our customers are more successful when we're working with them with AWS, and WorkSpan has been a critical component in making that partnership between PagerDuty and AWS successful.
Great. Seems like a big charter, and especially in this macro where partnerships have become increasingly important. So I'll dive right into the questions using our short period of time that we have. The first question I'd like to start, you've been in the industry for a long period of time, and you have cultivated strong alliances both in large companies where you're kind of a hub, and in smaller companies where you kind of a spoke but then become a hub later on.
Yeah.
What are the key strategies that you would recommend for our audience looking to empower their partner ecosystems for mutual success and innovation?
Puneet, you and I talked about how do we explain what we do to our parents, and so I think kind of the strategy it boils down to, not to be too simplistic, but it's whether you're working at Salesforce, where I had a fantastic time, or at smaller emerging ISVs. It's you're thinking about partnerships it's a better together strategy. How are we better with whatever entity we're contemplating being a partner with? How are we better for our customers? So it's a customer centric mindset, but the relationships that you're cultivating in service to customer excellence, customer value. So that's and I think regardless of which side, the hub or the spoke that you're sitting on, having that focus, that mentality, being anchored to that purpose helps ensure you're driving at valuable partnerships for each other and for your customer.
Right. No, I think that's phenomenal. And we've been in discussions for a long period of time. So it seems like you're well on your way at PagerDuty and replicating the playbook that you had at Salesforce. Now, coming to the specific topic about AWS, how did you build this partnership at AWS? In today's world, AWS is one of the key partnerships that a lot of partners drive and thrive upon. So what was your specific strategy as you went deeper with AWS?
So thank you. I think you have to start from partnerships are ever evolving. So you're never, everyone in this, we're all working in this space, you're not done. It's not, you haven't activated, you never finished the work. It's why I like, partnership ecosystems, speaking to the kind of the organic, always evolving nature of them. So as I said, I've been with PagerDuty now for about 18 months. And when I arrived, the AWS relationship was the most strategic. So this isn't, wasn't some overnight success. We were building on what we already had. PagerDuty, we talk about better, never done, better, never best, same kind of strategy. So we were looking at it again as PagerDuty is evolving, not just into the enterprise, but enterprise selling. At the same time, we've got a commercial base. So kind of trying to manage both books of business, both segments, growing internationally, verticalizing a bit. Then there's an opportunity for us to look at our most strategic partnerships and partner like AWS and say, how do we engage with them better given where we're going and in a way that continues to serve our customers well. So that wasn't just the approach, that's always the approach, right? And so that there was again, we're looking for risk mitigation where we've got customers that are leading us churn and downgrade, not because they're dissatisfied, but as we all know, market pressures and some contractions. So how can we continue to serve them, while they're feeling economic pressures? And AWS helped us there. but that I'd say that was probably kind of overarching the theme, and continues to be the theme in our work with AWS. And then I think we talked about that's where WorkSpan came in, leaning in on the automation and the integration that WorkSpan offers us. It helped us optimize our dealings with AWS in a way that, again, served our customers well.
Yeah. So let's build upon that and in the context of that partnership. How specifically do you use? I think there are a few features that you and I have talked about in the past. There's the reporting aspect, there's the exchanging of the referrals and the automating of referrals. So what part of WorkSpan was really instrumental in helping you grow that partnership?
Well, I think we, in an effort to be a good, I mean, we went all in, right? And we said, all right, we've got this relationship with AWS that we want to be better at. We want to demonstrate our commitment here. We've got a relationship, and we've got WorkSpan is the glue between the two companies. One of the all in for us was sharing. We doubled down on here's our business. We want to work with you in all the places. Great. So we're referring a lot of business to AWS, but in doing so, creating a lot of noise for AWS. So inadvertently creating a lot of noise. So this year was us being a little bit more kind of feedback from them was, hey, that's too much, or you're not ready to engage. So let's be more intentional about what we're sharing, and it being places where we, AWS, can actually lean in and help you. So we got more specific about what we were sharing, worked closely with your team in refining what went in that direction to maximize what came back from AWS in terms of areas where we could work together. That's probably the first thing we did. The impact, though, is that kind of our success rate, our win rate in terms of what we referred to them went up. And in addition to that, because what we were referring was more actionable, then the AOs that came from them went up as well. So we saw an increase on both.
Okay, that's very interesting. And if you don't mind, I'll build upon that, because a lot of our partner universe and us, we eat our own dog food. We believe that sharing more with Amazon gets you more visibility. And then the whole cycle then starts to unlock, and it becomes a nice circle. You are telling the partner universe that be careful, you don't want to overshare. Yeah. And you are one of the top partners. We look at a lot of our customer base and we can tell who's sharing a lot, who's not sharing a lot. So if you can expand on that a little bit, I think people will find that very, it'll help build their intuition on how to build this partnership and what's the important part, like quality versus quantity, right? That's the debate we're having.
Yeah, and it's not just that we were, yes, exactly. So we were sharing all of this, and really actionable was down here. And you're sending details or information or opportunities that are not yet actionable because they're not at, whatever your stages are. They're not at stage 2 or stage 3. They're not when you're ready to engage. They're perhaps placeholders, or they're renewals that aren't set to renew for 2 or 3 years out. So it's not, so I think everybody can decide for themselves in terms of managing their pipeline and their deal flows when it makes sense. But that's something that we, it was intended in sharing, we're going to share more. And that's, look at us sharing everything and being incredibly transparent with this great partner. We didn't intend to create noise. So we did, but in receiving that feedback and kind of dialing down, and not dialing down just we're not going to share, but being really deliberate about, are there segments that we need help with? What deal stages does it make sense? And we did that in partnership with them. I was meeting with leaders throughout the year and continuing, like I said, better, never best, continuing to refine. Okay, this segment, it actually makes sense for us to get enterprise segments, larger deals, larger customers, make sense to get involved even earlier. Those tend to be longer deal cycles. So I think the partnership wasn't just in the field, it was also an operational partnership. How do we operationalize this that makes sense for both sides? Always improving, still improving. So.
No, I think that's great. And I'll ask the last question on that. Because you touched upon it, I think you kept AWS along for that journey. As you made that strategic change, that it is about sharing what is more relevant and more targeted, getting to that, because you were talking in metrics terms also, increasing the win rate, increasing that quality of the AO and PO. So it seems like you were in very close touch with the AWS team.
It absolutely. Again, not just a field around customers partnership, but an operational partnership. And one of our concerns in dialing down after we had the volume, all the way up, and dialing down the POs that went in that direction was that it would look like we didn't want it to look like we were sharing, that we were pulling back. So we've been careful about that as well, to discuss that with them. And the analytics is, wait a minute, win rates. We both want to see more win rates, because a higher win rate when we're sharing pipeline is resulting in greater engagement of their team. Their teams, they know that if they're seeing pipeline for us, that it's actionable. We've both aligned on when to share such that it's actionable for them, and then the asks of them are specific and near term. So
that's amazing. Like, that's the kind of intuition I don't think a lot of people have, because a lot of companies are mostly about sharing, and it seems like you went on the whole journey, sharing a lot and then focusing on win rate. What are the other metrics that you look at? You mentioned win rate being one of the key ones. What are the other metrics that this partnership is driven around?
So I think we were also surprised at both the impact that AWS has had on our success, not just, on both ends, I'd call it kind of market segments, both enterprise and enterprise deals, as well as we'll call, transactional run rate business. So we've seen an increase in working with AWS. We've seen an increase in the renewal rates, both ends of the market. And with enterprise deals in Q4 of last year, multi-year. So AWS has helped us with multi-year contracts. So in terms of the predictability of your business, longer contracts are better than shorter contracts. But in increasing the TCV of a relationship with a customer, with an enterprise customer, it's also elevated us in terms of a strategic vendor for that customer. So that's been a great benefit on the enterprise side of the market. One of the exciting things, though, for us on this scale side of them is our run rate business is the automation that AWS continues to announce, and that WorkSpan continues to harness for their partners. So reInvent in November, AWS announced, and we were involved a bit in the beta, the future dated offers. So we're excited about the lift and leverage that the future dated offers is providing for all of our customers, all of our marketplace customers, but in particular in our scale segment. So being able to get those offers to them early, it's not just a relief, and it's actionable, and it's the easy button for our customers, but it's some relief for our renewals team as well.
Yeah. So you touched upon so many great threads that we can take in the discussion, but I'll be mindful of time. Before we switch to marketplace, which you're leading towards, I'll just build upon the short-term metrics that I heard from you, because that's phenomenal, right? You said win rate, you said renewal rates, where everybody's eyes light up in today's economy. You said TCV and multi-year contracts, which adds to the
All the things.
predictability, right?
Yes.
All those things are like music to our ears when we think about an AWS partnership. If you think about this short-term to long-term flip, when you think about the long-term sustainability of that AWS partnerships, do you continue to focus on those metrics? And how do you continue to, as you are going through this transition of sharing less, focusing on these kind of metrics a lot more than just the sheer volume? How do you think about that long-term sustainability with AWS?
So we measure, across the different segments, we continue to measure the growth of the partnership, the growth of our bookings through them, both in terms of ACV, ARR, and volume. So last year, again, as we're starting to dial down what we're sharing, we still saw numbers here right in front of me, 37% growth in ARR. So we are continuing to grow our business with AWS, our AWS marketplace business. But there was also a 66% growth in volume. So again, back to us being more refined about what we shared, it didn't compromise what we were able to do with them. And in fact, I believe it actually helped drive the business back to, we were sharing quality actionable pipeline. It incentivized, encouraged our AWS colleagues to engage and know that engagement was going to be actionable for both of us in the near term.
I think at your scale, those are some amazing numbers, right?
Yeah.
Almost 40% growth in ARR and 70% growth in volume.
Yep.
I've seen the scale, and you guys are like a large publicly traded company. those numbers coming from the partnership team, kudos to you as you set up that partnership. I know you're being humble and saying that you've been only there for 15 months, but to deliver that year-over-year growth, I think that's pretty amazing results.
It's quite a team on both sides that make that happen. So as anyone who's been working in this space knows, but we're really excited about the partnership and ultimately what it's doing for our customers. Like I said, I had a particularly poignant conversation with our CEO not about a year ago when she noticed a direct customer, a brand that we would all know had moved and from being in a direct relationship with PagerDuty to buying through and transacting through the marketplace, and asked me, why did we do that? Why did the customer do that? In peeling that back, one, we noted that for that particular enterprise customer, we were able to leverage marketplace credits to preserve the renewal. So again, even enterprise vendors feeling marketplace macro conditions and contractions, we were able to preserve the renewal by them moving them through the marketplace. And then since then, subsequently have been able to grow, in partnership with AWS, have been able to grow that enterprise customer and brand to a much bigger footprint. So proud of that. But then that had us kind of unpack the marketplace business versus our direct business versus our other routes to market, and saw as a whole and regardless of the segment how well it performs. So again, back to we've got renewal rates that we see that are higher, renewal rates, customer satisfaction. So really pleased with the results of that business, and again, WorkSpan enabling us to do that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think this is a good cutoff point, right? The first half of the conversation we dedicated to the co-sell and how you have established that co-sell business in a very nice manner. Moving on to the marketplace. So first of all, congratulations at reInvent. I think you were marketplace partner of the year for Amazon for 2023.
For EMEA. So I'd love to be global, but it was for EMEA. So just
okay. We'll get you there. we would like to help you as you get to that. How important is the marketplace today? You started talking about a little where you were talking about the renewal rates, how you're tapping into that cloud spend, and you have moved direct customers onto marketplace. Just build upon that a little bit as you're thinking from going from this co-sell and marketplace, bringing all of this together. How are you thinking about this end to end? And then we'll talk about how we can help you in this end to end digitization.
Marketplace end to end. So sharing our working with AWS to establish, not even with customers, we are going to market together with them. We're contemplating. Let's see. I mean, we're in every market. We're phenomenal success. We've got a business unit in Japan that launched about 15 months ago. And AWS has already proven to be an incredibly helpful partner there. Our largest win in APJ, actually, so in Singapore, a huge financial institution in Q4 that was leaning on, and that wasn't a marketplace transaction, but it was co-selling. So at the end, it was we intended to, and at the end, the customer decided that they wanted to continue to transact directly, or they wanted to transact directly instead of through the marketplace at that moment. That may shift going forward, but AWS has been, if you think about kind of aligning your strategic partners, aligning to your customer's journey, we've mapped that out, and again, the flexibility of whether we're leaning on a co-sell motion with them or a marketplace motion. Speaking about how successful the marketplace motion has been for us and for our customers. And then resulting in that virtuous cycle where, as a result of a successful transaction and a successful experience, customers then, as I said, renewing at a higher rate. Yeah.
So it seems like it becomes a very kind of like a cyclical process. You co-sell marketplace, virtuous cycle, right? Yes, exactly. And then this is especially virtuous for businesses who are looking for more renewal rates and higher renewal rates, more ARR. Now, we engaged in a conversation with you. We were a launch partner to Amazon, and we are digitizing, like Chip was talking about in his slides, the end-to-end flow. I think every partner today is thinking about like a 4-part journey that you first list, then you start co-selling, and then you have your marketplace because your transactions are meaningful in terms of volume. And then you have that reporting that when you're doing your QBRs, MBRs with Ruba, as well as the other as well as your partners, you are taking the data and having a data-driven conversation versus,
right.
in your words, like coffee and donuts, right? That paradigm has become old. Nobody's on coffee and donuts. Now everybody's saying, talk to me in data-driven terms.
Yeah.
So how does WorkSpan play into that vision that you have as you build this virtuous cycle and make sure that digital layer underneath is very solid and then enables you to have that data-driven conversation?
So I think, I mean, we're all there again. Operational efficiency is, I mean, it's what PagerDuty is all about, but it's something that all of us are reckoning with. And I think it's a phenomenal time to be in the partnership arena because of automation, because of we are shifting from relationship, or if you cheekily call it, the coffee and donuts kind of partnering motion, where you're lining up dinners, to there's real value that partnerships are driving, and it's not, and it's measurable, it's accountable, and it's through innovation. WorkSpan's been in this space for I mean, founded this space where it's helping partner leaders like myself and like that are on this webinar measure, not just measure, but also operationalizing, connecting strategic partners to one another. We're no longer managing our business out of spreadsheets or spreadsheet sharing. So the work that WorkSpan's enabled us, I mean, it's the integration PagerDuty to ACE. So thank you for that. Which has been, gotten us here. But I think what we're contemplating moving forward, as I mentioned, is not just I'm super excited about the future dated offers. To be able to at scale or batch automate the creation of those future dated offers, allows us to contemplate, I mean, entire books of business and the manual toil in on our side, having to create those offers and send them out and then follow up on them, to work with WorkSpan to automate the creation of those offers,
right,
such that we are managing offers that weren't accepted, not all the offers that we're sending out. And then our customers are able to then, as I said, the acceptance of a private offer is a lot easier than managing a manual acceptance of a PagerDuty sent offer. So again, back to it being customer centered. That's what I'm super excited about what's coming, what we're talking about, kind of what's coming next. And the lift and leverage that provides for our business. So our CFO and the finance team are super excited about the automation and the time to market, but ultimately the customer satisfaction that this work provides.
I think that's very well put, right? You started from operational efficiency and then you said meet the customer, right? Meet the customer has taken on multiple kind of meanings. One is meet your internal customer, which is like the financial stakeholders, the finance stakeholders that you have, the ops stakeholders that you have.
Yeah. Right?
And then meet your external customer and your partner where they want to. And that is meet in the marketplace, but in the marketplace with the right offer. It's not just any offer, but the right offer. Is it a future dated offer? And we have been in the room with the Amazon engineering team, the Amazon API team, and they are having some exciting innovations, right? The future dated offers and multiple things that we cannot talk about publicly, but a lot of that is coming out, and we are happy that we can serve the needs that you have and complex partners like you who are thinking about taking all of that offline business, which was done through CPQ system, and lift and shift it to the marketplace. That's no mean feat, and that will require a ton of innovation. And that, like you said, that operational efficiency that we can provide versus you doing that operational lift, I think that's where we plug in. So,
and then, you've got a partner organization that is providing not just, I mean, we're providing, as you said, there's value for the customer, but there's material value for the businesses that we serve as well. So,
right. So what advice would you give for partner leaders who are on this webinar, who are evaluating whether applications like WorkSpan? What advice would you give?
Again, customer centered. So if it starts with that, and your partnership motions, your partnering, and then your partnership motions and your partner automation are really they ought to be, ultimately they're serving your customer. I think when you think about the technologies and the automation that we have as partner leaders have access to that we didn't before. I carve a lot of my Saturday coffee time or my Sunday coffee time to follow these webinars like these. Partner leaders is great for thought leadership and ways to excel. I listened to a Tim Ferriss podcast this weekend. there's expertise and thought leadership out there, and I'd encourage people to be consumers of that, and to hone your craft, and also hone your craft such that you're delivering and articulating the value that a partner ecosystem is delivering for the businesses in which we work.
Yeah, makes sense. So we talked a lot about Amazon and WorkSpan. I'll end at two questions that are broader than that Amazon ecosystem or that WorkSpan. Looking ahead, your charter is bigger than Amazon, right? How you are thinking about the whole partner ecosystem, which includes the GSIs, the ISVs, the MSPs.
Yeah.
How do you envision innovation will evolve in this larger ecosystem, just the way we have seen the innovation evolve around the Amazon ecosystem? Are there any enhancements, developments that you are particularly excited about as you think about it?
Yeah, the nearbound space is super interesting to me, and it's not, I'd say not kind of an analog connection, from one CRM to the other, but we're actually then contemplating ways to visualize your partner's pipeline and willingness to engage in your opportunities within your own CRM. I mean, truly, it's actionable. We talk at PagerDuty about the partner ecosystem. For us to be successful, then the work we do has got to be integral. So meaning everyone at PagerDuty is doing partnering work. And so I think, part of that is partners are then visible in all the places where Dutonians, that's what we call PagerDuty employees, where Dutonians are working. So if you're in product, you need to be able to see in product, these are the products I'm developing, and these are the partners that they serve. If you're in sales, if you're an AE and you've got an opportunity, to be able to see on the opportunity who's working there. It's an AWS customer. It's Accenture's in the account. They're also they've got Salesforce Service Cloud, to be able to have that information. Those are actionable insights, and then also be able to action it from. And so that's what we were exploring too. Is then how do we widgets and whatnot? How do we surface actionable so we can take action, or the sales rep can take action on that opportunity without calling? And they're informed, they're educated, they're enabled around the power of the partner ecosystem to help facilitate that opportunity, but ultimately facilitate customer value, and are empowered to action that themselves. And that's what we're excited about.
I think that's something very insightful that you just said, right? You are saying that it's not just the alliance team, it's not just the VP of global partner ecosystems who's responsible for partnering. You're actually saying that partnership should percolate across all the walls of PagerDuty and Dutonians. So it's a build motion, it's a selling motion, it's an incentive motion, right? And it's a marketing motion. All of those motions coming together where the partners are leaning in and PagerDuty is leaning in, or the organization is leaning in. That's what you're trying to orchestrate, which is a big charter, especially at the scale at which you are doing it. I think is that the right framing? Is that the right way?
That's the right framing. That's the opportunity. That's the exciting opportunity. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Before we open up to audience questions, I'll ask one last question, because you are such a passionate advocate for women in technology, and you serve on the board for Women in Technology. What advice would you give to women who are looking to get into leadership within the industry? What strategies would you suggest to organizations that are trying to uplift women into leadership, especially around partnering, right? Because again, just like any other function, this is also getting disrupted. So talk a little openly about that. I think the audience will appreciate it.
So just clarifying, I was on the board of WIT. I'm not currently. Okay. And I guess coaching to women, I wouldn't begin to coach women generally. What I would challenge leaders is, whether you're recruiting, you're developing, you're building out your teams, it's it's ensure a diverse candidate. I mean, diverse. I am a strong proponent of diversity and being intentional about that. If that's not the forefront, how do I listen to bring in more voices? How do I create a platform? If you don't do it on purpose, it doesn't happen. So I think as leaders, that's something that we, and you're constantly have to kind of inspect it. Have I allowed enough room? Have I opened enough doors? Have I reached out? Have I pulled people into conversations or into a talent pool or that kind of thing? And some of that too is educating yourself and listening and being responsible for widening your own lens. So that's.
No, that's a good response. I think that is all the intuitive stuff. I think it's just being deliberate and doing all of that. That's the part. It's like every other thing. Talking about it is easy. Executing it and making sure that you go through it, that's the hard part. Finding the time to do.
It's not perfect. You're never. But I think. But leaning into it and being curious and being vulnerable and being responsible for educating yourself and being responsible for trying to do better. I think that's what we do as leaders.
Great. We have about 15 minutes left. I think this is the right point to bring back Chip in and take the audience questions versus us monopolizing the conversation. So Chip, how about we hear from the audience?
And we actually have some great questions, but before we start with questions, I'm going to put a comment up here, which I loved from Catherine.
R.I.P. sharing the story. No kidding.
Thank you, Catherine, for your contribution there. It's very true. But yeah, some great questions. I think we'll start with Minu Mehta. So she asked, did GSIs or other ISV integrations play a role in the success of PagerDuty?
Yeah, 100%. Open platform. Let's see, 700 and 750. I mean, there's, we any earnings calls you can get back. We're constantly referencing the number of integrations we built. And I think that's important, but I think it's the GSIs then actually who've been helpful at helping kind of bring those integrations, not just to life, because the ISVs have done that in building it, but delivering value on those. So when, we're talking to the GSIs about ServiceNow integrations or Slack integrations, they have these large practices around those technologies that either we or they have built integrations. And then we're able to have a time to value conversation with them, with our joint customers. That's pretty exciting. So it's a both. So yes, ISVs and GSIs are together have been super, super important in getting us to where we are now and frankly, where we go next.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So ISVs for technology integrations, but then the GSIs on like use cases and industry expertise and things like that to be able to create solutions. Yeah,
you got it. Yeah.
That's really cool. Another good question here from Chris Badger. Hi, Chris. Please share some examples for the AWS partnership helping internationally. LATAM market has been a challenge. Has AWS helped there?
It's a great question, Chris. We are, the caveat, we are super light in LATAM. So in terms of our international footprint, it's EMEA and APJ. And while we've got some customers in LATAM, we haven't, that's not been a priority in terms of our international expansion yet. So no, they have not, but not because of AWS.
Yeah. How about other geos?
Yeah. So we had a great meeting. What day was it? Yesterday, the day before. We are working with AWS in EMEA. We have offices in Lisbon and the UK, but AWS is much larger than us. So we will leverage them for office space, for connection with our customers. When our customers are not in the particular country we're leveraging them for billing in local currency. And we have found we are a US-based company, and so our revenues are still more US than international, but our lift and leverage from AWS in international kind of relative has been much greater. And that's, I guess, as you would expect it to be. They've a much larger footprint than we have, and they've been incredibly willing to work with our teams. We had a large kickoff in Sydney. Was that 6 months or so ago that I had the privilege of attending and being part of in the AWS learning space for us there. Great partnership. I think about that large financial institution that we won a strategic deal with just 90 days ago. That was AWS leaning in, helping us with executive introductions and sponsorship that we didn't have there.
That's co-selling.
Co-selling.
Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Another good question here from John Kane. So this is one that we get a lot. Sounds like they're at a little bit different earlier part of the spectrum, but just beginning our partnership and struggling to get attention. Any recommendations for increasing our relevancy?
So John, I'd say lesson learned from us is one of the ways we tried to get attention, attempted to get attention is we shared everything we had. And we did get some attention. Not all of it was the attention we wanted. So like it's like anything. You're finding places where you've got a center of gravity, a customer, a segment, an industry, and super focused, hyper focused on finding an AWS champion in and around a place that you've got center of gravity. So you've got a higher win rate, even if it's not at scale, a higher win rate. And that always found it, wins tend to spread. So you tend to get some momentum, but I'd say the risk is that, the peanut butter approach and will wear everybody out. So the more you can focus, I think the faster your time to traction.
Yeah. I think AWS talks about having your superpower statement, right? Like what's that thing, the key thing that, and speak to the audience that you're.
And they're a great partner in that they've got great ideas. So there's tons of great things that we've been invited to do. PagerDuty have been invited to do. And I think what we've learned is that we don't have to say yes to everything. And in fact, it's not a great idea to say yes, because again, you get sucked into that, peanut buttering your resources. So, don't be afraid to say no, or at least not yet. We're going to focus here and then move. So that again, making sure that you develop relevancy and traction before you start going wider.
Love that. That's great advice. Interesting question from Ben Sangri. Do you measure the ratio of POs and AOs as a key metrics? There's some meaningful correlations. So POs, just to explain POs and AOs, PO is partner originated opportunities. AOs are AWS originated opportunities.
And I guess on our side, I don't know if anyone else has seen this too. Our broader PagerDuty team historically would conflate AOs with sourced, partner sourced opportunities. The goal that everybody's looking for. So it's a ratio and a measurement that I'm careful with, because it does require some explaining, and also because of what I alluded to earlier when we were chatting. We over-indexed on POs. So we had a very high PO and a very low AO, and AWS would tell you the AOs that we got were a reflection of the noise we created in the oversharing of the pipeline. So what we've in dialing down the POs, like I said, we've seen a more normative relationship in PO to AO, and leaning on WorkSpan to help us. Hey, what is the ratio we ought to be looking for? So appreciate your guidance there on that.
Absolutely.
I think we've got a few more minutes here. Still have a couple more questions that have come in. This is another one from Minu Meta. What sales enablement programs did PagerDuty develop for AWS sellers?
So it's I wouldn't say it's that complicated. It's taking our PagerDuty University, our just general enablement content for our customers, but I mean more specifically our partner our partner tracks, learning tracks. And then, because AWS is such a strategic partner, we've then curated and customized that for, in particular, the solutions consultants. So the sellers, yes, but we've found that the architects and solution consultants are the ones advising the sellers. So making sure they are understand the PagerDuty Operations Cloud, where we fit, how we fit into their messaging. So that's been a focus, and again, never done. So I feel like we're constantly doing those partner activations. AWS is larger than we will ever be, so we will continue to do that more and more. But that's where we've found some success or real value. That enablement effort has been super valuable for us.
Great. Gosh, the questions keep coming in. Chris just asked another question. How have you approached working with AWS vertical and industry teams?
Yeah, again, so I think if it's where we've got a story, so if we've got vertical stories to share, I mean, again, AWS is way larger than us. They've got verticals and vertical stories that we don't have yet. So it's been important for us to get a line around accounts in industries where we may not have a story or perspective. We're strong in financial services. We're strong in manufacturing. We're strong in retail. So we've got case studies, narratives, wins that we can package and align with them. But again, making sure it's truly, we've got something that's interesting to them. We've got wins that are interesting to them. If they're in places where we're not, and we can work on an account, great. But it's I think, back to the peanut buttering if we're trying to develop something where we don't have relevancy yet.
It's fantastic. Okay, here's another interesting question. This is from Cam Sharp. How do you tackle the pitfall of sellers globally not understanding the marketplace? And is this causing them to not even bring it up as a path to procure?
Yeah. We did see that. And some, I think it's top down and bottoms up, Cam. Sellers are competitive by nature. The good ones are. So our sales leaders have seen traction and win stories in markets and said, "Hey, I want some of that." We've even resourced with an AWS co-sell, or not co-sell and marketplace, but an AWS go-to-market expert in each of the geos. And the last geo to get funded was APJ. And to your point, Cam, that now the leader of APJ is a very, very squeaky wheel about when can we hire that resource and why not sooner. But historically, that market had relied on any number of transactional resellers to move the needle in that market. But seeing the success the other markets have had with AWS, and in particular having this resource in market to help align and activate with AWS in those markets has made our APJ leader a strong and vocal advocate for resourcing in market.
Julia, you have been very generous with your time and patience with all of these, peppering you with all these questions.
Hot seats. It's my pleasure.
So I think we'll end the question time there. I think that's fantastic. It's a lot of really engaged. Thank you all for asking questions. Really great questions.
Yeah, Julia, thanks again for being with us. I think this was great. I particularly found it really insightful, the things that you have accomplished in the last 15 months and how you talked about the strategy for AWS, the co-sell piece, the marketplace piece, and the broader ecosystem of GSIs and ISVs and MSPs. So thanks so much for being, as Chip said, generous with your time.
It was my pleasure. I appreciate you both and appreciate the partnership with WorkSpan. Thank you.
Absolutely. Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. And I guess for everyone else, I will put this up on stage. Please if you've got a minute, I think we got like 5 or 6 questions. Love to hear your feedback about the session today. And we always want to improve. So Julia, thank you so much for taking the time again. And Puneet, great job of having the conversation with Julia. And I guess we'll see you all next time.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Julia. Bye.